I'm going to try to be as polite as I can in the sentence that follows this one. Trump is really messing up the US economy. We're not talking about just a little bit going wrong now. We're talking about a total and utter flipping disaster. That's how badly things are going in the USA. And there's no point Trump trying to pretend anymore that this has anything to do with Biden. It hasn't. It has everything to do with Trump. No new jobs are being created in the USA. Last month, it was thought that 20,000 jobs were created in the single month, a record low for a long period of time. The US normally adds 250,000 new jobs a month. This figure is staggeringly small. The slowdown is very real. And we know that the figures for job growth over the last year have been restated, including some of Biden's period, and I accept that. But this is still exceptional. And there are other signs of things going really horribly wrong. Look at what happened with regard to Hyundai. They were doing inward investment into the USA to build a plant in the country to overcome the tariff problem that Trump was creating. And then ICE, the customs people, turned up and they arrested around 450 Korean nationals working at that plant to establish the technology that will be needed to make Hyundai cars in America. And guess what? South Koreans aren't too pleased about discovering that when they go to the States to do what the States wants them to do, which is to build a plant in that country, they get arrested for being illegal immigrants, which they almost certainly weren't. This is how to destroy inward investment into the USA. And there's another thing to talk about as well. Those tariffs that Donald Trump has been putting on everything into the USA have given rise, of course, to tariffs the other way, in particular between the USA and China. And I predicted earlier this year that there would be a massive backlash and consequence as a result, particularly in the Midwest farming districts of the USA, which are, above all else, the areas where Donald Trump gets his support for the MAGA, Make America Great Again movement. And it's happened. One of the biggest crops that is grown in Midwest America is soybeans. And the biggest market for Midwest American soybeans is not in America. It is in China. They love soybeans. And right now, there are no orders from Midwest farmers from China. It's as if China has said, "Hello, you, Mr. Trump. We aren't interested in buying your product anymore because you're playing silly games. And so we will take countermeasures. That won't just be a tariff. It will be a simple block on buying your products." And that is what has happened. There are 900,000 soybean farmers apparently in the USA, and none of them has an order from China. This is going to be catastrophic for the economy of Midwest America. It's going to be catastrophic for the MAGA supporters in that area. It's going to be catastrophic for everybody else in those areas, because if the farmers aren't spending and they bring in most of the money into the economies of the Midwest states, then no one else is going to be spending either. Trump has disasters on his hands. A disaster of a slowing economy, a disaster of an economy where he's fighting the Fed, a disaster where interest rates are rising because of fear of what he's trying to do and the consequences for the dollar, a disaster on his hands with regard to inward investment, and now a disaster on his hands with regard to exports. These are multiple whammies coming in all directions at what is happening in the USA, and there is only one explanation for them all, and that is the failure of Donald Trump to comprehend what is going on inside the economy of the country that he is trying to govern. He's not making America great again. He's destroying the American economy as fast as it is possible for any human being on earth to do. And that human being was elected to be president of the States. America is going to pay an enormous price for Trump. Sometime soon, America is going to realize that. The Midwest farmers already are. They're beginning to scream and holler and shout and say something's going horribly wrong here, and they are right to do so. the South Koreans are already getting upset and won't be coming back to set up more factories. America will be sitting in isolation with the higher prices that their tariffs will inevitably mean for the American consumer now that products won't be made at home, as Trump said they would be. Everything is potentially going wrong for the US economy. But don't just sit back and smile, because I'm not. I'm sorry for ordinary Americans. I'm sorry for those who were misled by Trump. I'm sorry for those who thought he was really going to make America great again and for whom he's going to fail. I'm sorry for everybody else in the world who's going to pay the price. For those South Koreans, for the Chinese who won't be getting the soybeans they want, for everybody who will see the knock-on effects of what Trump is doing. This man is an outright disaster. Far-right politics is an outright disaster. We've always known that. But now we can see the evidence. And it's critical that we do see and note and talk about that evidence, because the threat from the far right is real elsewhere, including here in the UK. The far right has no known answer to any known problem. Its hatred of migrants solves nothing. We are living in an interdependent world, and to pretend otherwise is just absurd. To pretend that we can live in glorious economic isolation is just absurd. To pretend that we can run an economy on the basis of giving tax cuts to the rich and increasing, in effect, taxes on everybody else by imposing tariffs is absurd, because the net result is a lack of spending power. And in the case of Midwest America, that lack of spending power is going to be very obvious. And the people of the UK should take note, because if you look at reform, the only people they're interested in are bankers and the City of London. Everybody else in the UK, frankly, is ignored by reform. We're going to see that policy that is being pursued by Trump replicated by reform in the UK if they ever get near office. Lessons do therefore have to be learned. And the lesson is loud and clear. Trump is an absolute flippin' disaster. And as I said at the outset, I'm trying to be as polite as I can here. What do you think? Do you think Trump is going to work for America? Or do you think he's a massive threat to its well-being? Maybe you don't know. Maybe you need more information. Maybe you want to say something else. Let us know in the poll that's below and in the comments. We do appreciate them. Thanks for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, please do click the like and subscribe buttons, because they do genuinely help us spread the word on YouTube. As importantly, could you have a look at the section below this video where it says more, and there you'll find a link to my blog. And if you follow that for the specific link to the blog entry related to this video, you'll find a transcript of this video and lots of other related material, plus a ChatGPT prompt that you could use to write a letter to your MP on the contents of this video, which will turn you into a campaigner, which will be a great thing to do. Finally, if you do appreciate the work we're doing, can you think about giving us a donation? If you'd like to do so, there's a link below, or you can find one on my blog where there's a Ko-fi button saying, please buy me a coffee. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you again soon.